Hey, what's up, all you 40K fanatics? It's me, Casey, here.
And Shane. I thought we were going to do the who's going to do the intro talk, as we were just discussing before we turned it on. Do they?
I mean,
when the show is fully navel gazing.
I mean, I got a little bit of a post-nasal drip right now, so I am more than ready to talk all day long.
Good. And fortunately for you, it's my main topic today.
Yeah, I know, right? So, Shane, what are we talking about today?
We're going to talk about collecting things, and this idea came up because if you follow us on 40K Fanatics on X/Twitter, if you haven't been up on the name change and have lived under some sort of big stone, that's what it's called. And we're on there, and there you can see our various posts and a lot of our work in progress pictures. And one that I posted the other day, that you posted the other day, was my Defiler, and I had it in my miniature cabinet, and it was down on the lower shelf in front of a collection of Transformers. And so what do Transformers and 40K have to do with one another?
They're more than meets the eye.
They are. And so is this main topic that we'll get to after a abbreviated Bits box.
Yeah, we're not going to really do the Brits box as much, but do you want me to open it?
Yeah, open it up. So I initially thought that I was going to have nothing for the Bits box. We're recording a day early because I've got stuff to do tomorrow.
It's a busy man.
And that I would have painted nothing. I would have done nothing. And then last night I was like, I feel like painting. And I want to say first, do you ever have a model on the docket and you're not feeling it?
Oh, yes.
Like I don't want to do this model.
You have to be a realist in those situations. You have to realize, there's no heart in this. I'm not going to paint this.
Well, but you do have to do it, right?
You do.
Like in this case, it's a guy's model from the Thursday Night D&D group at the game store.
Oh, is that the one you sent me?
Yeah, it's a little Dragonborn Paladin dude and it's I don't know what brand this miniature is, but it is an abomination. Okay. It's some sort of soft rubbery plastic. It appeared to be primed white, or maybe it's just a layered sort of compound, right?
Is it resin?
It's so soft.
Might be resin.
I mean, maybe, but it has no detail.
Rubbery.
And it's got just big old gashes and
big old gashes.
It's got big gashes in it. It's got big old built-up chunky parts.
Oh.
And it's a terrible miniature. And I took my X-Acto and just carved it into the shape that I feel the sculptors had intended.
Yeah.
And it looked pretty good once I primed it. But then when I went to paint it, I discovered that there are instances. So
might be a Reaper Mini.
It could be a Reaper Mini, I don't know, but he's this Dragonborn Paladin, and he's in a set of armor, and it's a terrible design for a miniature,
but a good concept
for painting.
Okay,
right? Because the whole dude is covered in chainmail.
Yeah,
and then he's got these plates strapped on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which, watch whatever armorer talks about fantasy armor on YouTube video you want. Maybe that's a valid solution for armor, except he's a scaly dragon.
He's got scales on scales.
He's got scales on scales, and for a miniature that you're going to paint, he's just full of holes.
So let me ask this: is it kind of like how you said Warhammer models have more ridges, more details, which kind of aid in the paint, compared to those MCP models you've been painting, who have very subtle details and not very many recesses? Is it kind of like that?
Have you ever seen an art class where people are drawing and they have a model, usually some naked person in the middle, and they're standing in some pose?
Spread eagle.
Usually. But they're in some sort of pose that painters and sculptors deem to be more desirable to paint and or sculpt or draw than others, okay?
Okay. And this one is?
This one is not doing anything like that. He stood there with a shield in this hand and an axe over his head, right? And again, you could see this on at 40K Fanatics on X. it's on there next to the Scriptor Mortis that I finished to a standard that I find acceptable. That's one of the ghosts from my Night Haunt army, a character. Anyway, back to this terrible model. But it's not just the pose and the position that matters, right? It's also the sort of materials in the outfit if they're going to have an outfit, right? So those MCP models don't have a lot of molded detail, but they're always in a pose that's really interesting.
Okay.
You know, like Black Cat flipped over backwards.
Action pose.
Stuff, yeah, it evokes something. Whereas this guy has got both his chonky, mold line infested feet glued to the ground, and
oh no, and he's got those scaly dragon feet.
Yeah,
so
man,
that's rough.
And then just above the scaly dragon feet is a whole bunch of chainmail. So he ended up looking fine. I kind of went crazy trying to do some red armor, and so I did red, and I did a different red, and I did an orange highlight. Then I ended up just doing my normal white pass to get something to be readable on him.
Okay.
But it was a whole bunch of silver metallic blackwash on chainmail that at the end of the day, he's just a dragon guy with a big shield and a axe.
Okay.
Which is fine, I guess. So what do you have in your bits box, Casey?
Ooh, I've got a fair bit. I am signed up for a tournament here in our local community for Warhammer. I will be going up against quite a few people, and it's going to be a whole RTT for a weekend, hoping to do some content for the channel. Let's see where that goes. Bought some war bikers that I'm going to be adding to my orcs, and hopefully that'll give me that winning advantage in the end.
I'm going to play in the doubles tournament with the homie Austin this weekend.
Sounds cool.
We're going to have Abaddon and Co. having
backup from the Astra Militarum.
Yeah, having somehow commandeered a tank squad. It will be very silly.
You got a Trader Guard unit?
Yeah. I told Austin to just go ahead and repaint all his tanks real fast.
They're all. I think his units are mostly black too, or gray, right?
Yeah. I don't think he's going to do that.
So yeah, I got my war bikers. They're primed. I just got to paint them up a bit, and they'll be ready to go for that tournament. And then I'm also still working on those Imperial Fists. I've got 2 whole units done so far: 10 Infernus Marines, 3 aggressors, and I've got like 20 heavy intercessors, 4 characters, and a dreadnought. I'm dying.
It doesn't feel like you're making any progress.
I just said that I did 2 units.
I know, but then you listed the not done units.
Yeah, and there's Terminators.
It's a long
too.
list.
It is, but hopefully I'll get 2 more units done by the end of October.
So shut the bits box, and let's get on to main topic.
Happy October, everybody!
We're going to go to main topic A. So, as I'm sure that everybody's seen, as of you're listening to this, every major 40K outlet on the YouTube and on the various social media space has seen the new Space Marine Codex.
Yes.
And so we're going to talk about it briefly because I'm real new to the hobby, and Casey is kind of new to the hobby, and quite frankly, I don't know all the Space Marine units. I don't really want to know all the Space Marine units. You're
a chaos boy.
Yeah, there are far too many, and all of the sort of matchups and spicy things that could be found in the new Codex, I am not privy to. So if you want that kind of crunchiness, go check out the Tabletop Tactics people, check out the Tactical Tortoise people, check out your other crunchy meta-chasing gaming channel.
Play on Tabletop.
Du jour.
Yeah. All those guys.
However, we are going to touch on it a little bit because the content mill requires it.
For sure.
And so...
and it's a good topic.
Yeah, the thing that I like is exactly what I was hoping it would be that I knew I would like, which is it's a bunch of detachment rules to leverage the models that you want to run.
Yes, and it's a very, Very interesting way of doing it.
It's a real open-ended kind of thing.
Yes.
I haven't seen any stills from the book, but I did watch the hour-and-a-half-long Tabletop Tactics, members-only talk about it, review of the thing. And they were like, and this detachment is the Imperial Fists, and this one has got a picture of the Salamanders, and this one, So they hint heavily at what detachment is for what subfaction, or what legion, which is cool, but also
you don't have to play those subfactions.
You don't have to paint them that way.
Really cool.
And there's like a melee one, and there's a shooty one, and there's like a runny shooting one. There's a tank one. There's a
vehicles.
There's a weird one that's a bunch of like hero hammer that has a bunch of neat enhancements that give you once per battle things.
There's what's it called? Oath of Moments.
Though the moment is the army rule that has remained, it has changed now. Previously, you got to re-roll the hit and the wound, and now you just re-roll the hit. However, many things can give you the wound re-roll back.
Yeah, there's one I think that's like if you take I think that I don't remember the name of the detachment, but it is a veteran army attachment. So if you're running all like Stern Guard veterans, Vanguard veterans, all that stuff, then these guys not only get the Oath of Moments +1 to wound, but also +1 to hit. So now I think it's like just wound, right? Or is it just a hit? No. It's changed. It was +1 to wound and +1 to hit, but now Oath of Moments has changed to +1 to hit. But this detachment changes it so that your army can do both now. So back to what it was.
Right. Yeah, there are a few things that are going to work really well together. There's also one for all the bikes. So the people that like the bikes and the jump packs, there's like a
Lightning Assault detachment.
Yeah, an Outrider kind of thingy. So I guess you can do your White Scars if you want.
And the best part about it is you don't have to play White Scars. It doesn't say specifically White Scars. I thought this was interesting because a lot in 9th we saw like army rules where your army had a specific set of rules. For instance, I play orcs, and right now in 10th I get sustained hits on melee, which is pretty orky. But a lot of Space Marines, if you look in the app builder, they don't really have anything like that. They just have the normal Space Marine, Devastator Doctrine, Tactical Doctrine, Assault Doctrine, shenanigans.
Yeah, because again, the Gladius Task Force, which is the Index one, has just been copy-pasted over.
Very vanilla.
Yeah, so if you don't want to do any of the new hotness, you can just get the points and continue to play Index.
Yeah, and it still gives you that flavor that you're playing as your faction. But if you want to say, I love Imperial Fists, I'm going to paint my army Imperial Fists, but you're more of a melee player like me, then you just build your army how you want, paint them Imperial Fists, and then take your detachment, which is so interesting to me.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really good. I tend to look at this stuff personally because I like my army the most because it's my army. But, my Chaos Space Marine lists are not very, they're not very meta, let's say.
Oh, do go on.
They're very cool. But you know what your boy needs?
What's that?
Some of that once per battle game-changing stuff that you can give to some characters. You know what I'm saying? Like I need one of those chaosified so that all my little dudes don't die and I can deliver them into glorious combat more readily.
I watched the Play on Tabletop review, and I'm a little vague on what it was, but they have a detachment which gives them heavy classification on all their weapons.
That's the Imperial Fist one.
Yes.
And if it already had heavy, it gets +1 to wound.
Yes. Well, that's the heavy classification. If you don't move, you get +1 to hit.
Right. But what I'm saying is...
And yes, if you do already have the classification...
Yeah, so everything in the army gets heavy.
Yes.
So it behooves them to stand there like the Imperial Fist defending Terra. I learned the thing.
Yeah. Look at him. Look at him, folks. He can learn. Man. Stubborn like an Imperial Fist. Be a wall.
Yeah, so they just stand there, and that helps them. But then, if they already had heavy weapons, which if you're the type that likes Imperial Fist, you'll have a bunch of dudes with heavy weapons. Then they also get +1 to wounds, so that you don't get in any way punished for taking the things that would be thematically appropriate for fielding an Imperial Fist army, which I think is neat.
It is very neat, and I think it works both ends, because now you don't have to build your army around a specific army rule. You can play however you want and just pick a flavor and still have the faction you love.
Yeah, and then that's the part that's the part we saw in the Tyranid Codex, and now has been continued. Now we're 2 wins. I feel like that's 2 W's, where we've gotten away from paint all your guys green, and this is the stuff they do, and it's more stuff than you'd really like to mess with.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like those 9th edition secondaries and then faction-specific secondaries was ridiculous.
Yeah, and
it just went on and on and on, and it locked you into, if I'm going to play Salamanders, then this is the stuff that they do.
Yep.
And outside of that, they don't do much.
And it affected me too. Like Bad Moon's orcs, they all had this awesome Mordaka strat. If you hit on 6s, you get extra shots and extra attacks. And I'd be rolling buckets of dice, but then it changed to something in 9th that made them like AP change buff that really didn't matter at all, and it just broke my heart. So I had a 1,500 point Bad Moon's orc army already painted, and I was destroyed. So maybe this
Crumped.
maybe this is more of a beta. Like maybe in the future we'll get stuff like this for all the factions.
Oh, no, I think this is absolutely going to be what 10th is for all of the codexes.
And it's smart on Games Workshop's part, because it's very less effort than having to go through every single army and give them all their same stuff. You know?
Yeah, and you know, I mean, this is just a semantic little niggle here, but like the army rule is the army rule.
Yeah.
Right? So every single one of those in the Space Marine Codex, they all have Oath of Moment. That's the army rule. The things that have changed are the detachment rules.
Yes.
That's what you now have a choice for.
Yep.
You
but
know?
and if you go into the app,
because what's actually the detachment rule for your orcs?
Well, my army rule is I get sustained ones in melee.
Is that the army rule? Or is that the detachment? I haven't looked.
The army rule.
Are you sure the army rule isn't the WA?
Let me look. You know, you're making me curious.
I feel like the army rule's the WA, so every single orc from now until 11th will have WA, and the WA does blank. But then you're going to have stuff that's like, during the WA, all the trucks are going to be 4-wheel drive, and then you'll have another one that's going to be, you know, before and after the WA, everybody will be sneaky because you're the special ops orcs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you mean like commandos?
Yeah.
Okay, let me see. Detachment rule. The detachment rule is get stuck in, which is the sustained hits 1 in melee.
Okay, and then so the army rule is in fact the WA.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes.
So see, your one detachment you have now is get in there, hacky slashy, and then you're going to get ones for bikes, and then you'll get ones for vehicles, and then you'll get ones for like a Grot army. You see,
I would love a Grot army.
Oh, it's going to be great, man. I mean, like I say, I just love the way that it lets you play with your toys, no matter what your toys are. Yeah. Obviously, there's still going to be broken stuff that will be found and will be leveraged to ad nauseum.
Yeah,
but
it's very newcomer friendly too.
Well, yeah, because you just grab the stuff grab the cool stuff, grab your codex, and then within moments you're going to be like, "Ooh, the cool stuff that I thought was cool can be useful and or more useful than others if I use this detachment," and that's going to be great. And then also, if you don't know what color to paint your guys, you know, it's right up at the top of the page. Turns out you like you bought a bunch of bikes, you like the white scars. Maybe go ahead and paint them up like white scars. It won't hurt, would it?
Exactly.
Let's close our main topic A and move on to main topic B, because again, we only so much know what we're talking about when we get into these more crunchy rules things.
Cool.
But, of course, that doesn't stop us, does it, Casey?
It does not stop.
No,
Never
no,
stop.
no.
Never stop it.
We're just going to keep talking.
We got to vamp. We got to fill this time. Let's go.
That's right. We're just going to keep talking because we like this stuff.
Topic B. Let's hit it.
So, I mentioned it earlier about the Transformers. And so, I'll tell a story. Story time. Fire up the campfire, Casey. Shine a flashlight.
Gather around the campfire and sing our campfire song.
Kumbaya, my lord.
Somebody didn't watch SpongeBob as a kid.
I didn't. I missed him. I missed him entirely. I was a Muppet Babies Batman X-Men kid.
Hey, man, everybody likes Batman. My kid is watching Batman. She's 2 years old right now.
Yeah, no, she's going to be swinging off a building, kicking you in the head.
Sure, he does that.
But Batman doesn't kill. He just vegetates.
I don't even know what that is. Okay, topic B. Let's go. Let's go.
Topic B. So, approximately 1 year ago, I was traveling around doing some entertainment stuff, and I was spending too much time in hotels and on airplanes and in airports. And I began to lose my mind. And I discovered a toy collector on YouTube and his various collection of action figures. And therefore learned that Transformers, which I had as a small kiddie Shane, had evolved into, like, fully posable action figures. Oh, we had a nurgling in the works there and had to do an edit.
Came in, tripped on the cord, farted, and left.
I tell you what. Anyway, the Transformers are now fully posable action figures that also transform into good-looking cars. Like, they look like the cartoon. And I was like, I need these in my life because I'm losing my mind and I need to exert some kind of control over myself.
Disposable income.
Yes, and I had more money than sense. And so I started a collection of Transformers. Now, why does any of this matter? It's because in going down the YouTube rabbit hole of toy collecting, a thing that these collectors say, whether they collected Transformers, Star Wars, bubblegum, whatever.
Baseball cards.
Yeah. What they talk about is they'll reference their first collection, their second collection, and usually their current collection. They've had multiple collections. And that first collection is usually a mess. It's everything that they can get their hands on. And then the second collection tends to be literally everything. Now, these two types of collecting are not what I am here to recommend. That would be like going onto the Games Workshop website, starting at A, and buying everything they've got in stock, and then running down the list. You would run out of money. You would run out of time. You would run out of space in your place. All right? Because what some of these toy collectors do, usually in that second collection, is they'll start buying one to open and one to keep in the box and then one to put in a bin in the box.
NRFB.
I'm telling you, man. It's madness. And, places like Hasbro, they're not going to stop making stuff. So it's a never-ending quest
to collect it all.
For completion, right? And then usually by the third collection, and this is where we want to get, I think, and what I'm going to hopefully let our listeners in on, is the third collection starts to get pretty specific. It's about deciding what is this collection going to look like? Okay. What's it going to represent?
Yeah.
What itch does it scratch in my nostalgia or in my taste? Right? This is not I have everything. Because that, like, theoretically anybody could have everything, right? But if I want to go and look at a case of Casey's stuff, I want to find what Casey likes. And I want to see it like having had some love applied to it.
Yeah, and going back to what you said about 1, 2, and 3 different collections, I have 3 armies. And 2 are small, and the first one is still growing.
Yeah, well, and
it's got just about everything, like you said.
Yeah, and maybe the first one was a good sort of narrow band to get into, but in Warhammer, I noticed there are a couple of different let's call them acquirers, right?
How do you mean?
Well, there are people that acquire armies kind of en masse and often. Usually these are people chasing whatever the new hotness is. That's a good way to end up with a big pile of shame. Hopefully, and I think usually, these people end up being sort of traitors too. So as soon as that army is no longer the new hotness, then it's time to try to dump it, to recoup some loss, to get the new hotness. But I challenge that practice a little bit. Well, I mean, I challenge that practice at every turn because I just don't think, go listen to our Don't Play Competitive 40K episode to find out why I don't think that it's a great competitive outlet.
Yeah.
But we're talking about collecting today, and those are funny ways to collect stuff. Then you've got your people that kind of do one army at a time. They do everything in that army, and then they just move to the next one. They get everything in that army. And those are a little bit I want to have everything guys. And I think it's important to ask yourself, when does this stop?
Oh, dude, I was just asking myself that today. I just got my war bikers. I'm getting a strategy going, and then I'm like, what would be nice? Some Gorkonauts, or maybe some mech boys, or maybe some dev treads. I'm like, dude, when am I going to stop buying orcs? I have 2,000 points.
Yeah, well, I mean, one more points change, and you might need to buy some more orcs.
Yikes!
But so let's take it back to where we started. My Transformers collection is very specific.
Really?
Yes, it is the modern version of G1 Transformers.
The boxy boys.
Yeah, all the guys from the original cartoon and the movie, right? So the original cartoon and the 1986 movie are what the collection is.
Might as well jump.
Yeah. So, it's Rodimus, it's Hot Rod, it's RC, because RC is Bay. It's Ultra Magnus is Optimus, it's Megatron, it's Galvatron.
You know how I know I'm old?
How?
Because I'm a Hot Rod fan more than I'm a Bumblebee fan.
Oh yeah, and Bumblebee's in there too. But when I was conceiving
Hot
of
Rod's
this,
cooler though.
Yeah, when I was thinking of this, the first one I got was Hot Rod because that figure is absolutely excellent.
Yeah, he was cool.
Yeah, and he's cool, right? He turns into a good car. He's an absolutely excellent figure. He's highly posable. He's got a bunch of little bits and stuff, and he's great. And then it's like, well, now I need Optimus, now I need da-da-da. And very quickly, because I'd watched all these people talk about what collecting, like sort of best practices in collecting, then I was able to almost make a list in my mind of who do I want to have? Is it all good guys, or is it good guys and bad guys? And I decided it's going to be good guys and bad guys. So, then you need Starscream, Megatron, the cassette player guy.
Ooh, Soundwave.
Soundwave, right?
With the mini-cons.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you need a few of the cassettes, right?
Oh, no.
So I've got all that stuff. But at this point, with one shelf quite tightly packed, the collection's pretty well done. And if you look at it, you glance across and you're like, oh, I recognize all of these. This is movie and cartoon dudes and like nothing else. And so the collection is manageable in size. It's an unreasonable amount of financial outlay, but it could be worse because in the little bit of time that I've been collecting Transformers, they've come out with 5 different colored hatchbacks that were not even in the show.
Exactly.
And I did buy one of them because it's a cool little car, and it turns into a fine robot.
You're slipping into it.
Well, here's the thing. Talking about how there's 4 different little hatchback dudes.
Yeah.
Doesn't that sound a lot like a Space Marine captain?
It does, man. Or a Space Marine lieutenant.
Yeah,
Oh.
every 2 weeks there's a new one.
It's just like, oh, this one's got a power fist, though. Look at it. Oh, he's so poseable. Let's get him. Oh, dude, like, how many Space Marine lieutenants and captains are we going to get?
Well, and so however many they make, that's on them, because there's always someone who doesn't have one, right?
But then you see it and you're just like, I kind of want to get it.
Well, sure, but that's the acquisition syndrome. What I'm saying though is, does that need to be on your mental list that every time they come out with a captain, I need to get every single captain? Maybe your collection is just captains though, but it's usually not.
I wonder if you could run an army of just Smash captains.
That'd
be pretty cool.
I don't think you could.
Oh.
Rule of 3 and whatnot.
Yeah. But on a Wraith Guard list.
What I'm saying, what I'm trying to clue the people into is,
sum it up.
Yeah, you've got to think about your Warhammer collection and what you're getting as like, what is this? Am I just getting something to get something? Which of course is your money, do whatever you want. But I think it's good to build a collection that says something about yourself, that has its own identity. I think it's more fun to build a collection that is going to tell a story at a glance than it is to just have too much stuff and a pile in the corner.
Yeah.
What are you doing? He's bobbing his head and showing me red Space Marines.
Because I remember I got those little box sets of all the collectible hero Blood Angel Space Marines, but I don't have the one that somebody else bought. And I went out and I bought them one by one, and I can't find the last one.
Oh, yeah. And you know what?
I want it so bad.
Yeah, and this is not just Shane saying collect all of one army, which I do subscribe to myself. But it's more just to try, because I bring you guys these things
because you love us.
in an effort for you to have more fun with your hobby. And I think it's a lot more fun when the stuff that you're building, that you're painting, that you're playing with tells a bit of a story the entire time. Because I think if you just were to go, like let's say you're a one army guy, and you go on the Games Workshop website and it's all in stock, which, I mean, in this fantasy land of a example, we're going to say it's all in stock. And you just bought everything on the list for an army, would you feel the same as if you went to the store and thought, ooh, they've got one of these today?
Yeah, I just can't do that.
Because today, at Gamers Haven, I picked up a slightly brown yellow to paint Jean Grey for my MCP. And I got a Chaos Lord, not in Terminator armor. And I started thinking, all of my guys are Black Legion scheme, every single one of them. Uh-huh. But I've been painting different stuff. What if this Chaos Lord was like brought in from another faction? What if he still had the silver right leg armor that my entire army has, except he's, leave it in the comments. Let me know some more interestingly colored Chaos Legions, because I think he's going to be a guest star, even though he's just a nameless Chaos Lord that's going to be running a group of Legionnaires.
Yeah.
But because I bought him today and he was all they had that I needed, that guy is he's gonna tell a little bit of a story in this collection that I'm amassing. Perhaps he's been working with Starscream to overthrow Megatron.
They come into that universe. 40K has everything. I wouldn't be surprised if there were Transformers, if I'm being totally honest. They have synths. They have hyper-intelligent spiders. They got fish people with hooves. Shout out to the Tau players out there. They got living mushroom men. I would not be surprised if Transformers just made a debut one day. That'd be awesome. Just like Abaddon shaking hands with Megatron.
Megatron's large.
He is very large, but so is Abaddon, because he's on them Chaos roids, man. He been juicing.
He ain't that large.
Been juicing.
Transformers like 40, 50, 60 feet high. I don't know. Depending on what episode of the cartoon you watch, they're probably not that far off scale wise.
Yeah,
they're like a little over shin height.
You know, it's I would say that they're about the size of a Primarch, maybe a Krork.
What?
You didn't even know what that is, so
no.
But we'll talk about that another day. So anything else, Shane?
I think that's all I got. Do you have any thoughts or considerations for the people's collections?
Well, with the collections, I do get a lot of that completionist syndrome that we were talking about. I mean, I motioned to all those Blood Angels that I was just telling you about. But you also see I have a lot of one-offs, a lot of just one little character that I manage to get, and I pay them to practice. Oftentimes, I will find myself on the Games Workshop store looking at really cool stuff, thinking, oh, that's not even my faction, but I would love to paint that. And then it would just collect dust.
Right, and that's where the toy collectors get messed up in their first and second toy collections. Is you get so used to saying yes in the decision making process of, do I need this for my collection? And you say, yeah, of course I do. I need everything that I need everything Star Wars. I need everything Transformers. I need everything. Insert other IP here.
And I'm betting these new detachment rules are going to very heavily support that quick run, I'm going to grab everything I can mentality.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think in the case of 40K, being that it's also a game, that there's something handy to having everything in an entire faction. But, like you say, buying a one-off kind of thing, it's definitely a fun painting project. But
it is,
at the end of the day, you could have bought a different orc.
You could have bought some you used.
And then use it, and then that would have been a fine painting project too. Interesting little places to branch out. I do have a couple of Beast Wars Transformers too, because that was back in the day.
That was back in the day.
I got the dinosaur Megatron that looks so great, and
the Gorilla.
Yeah,
Optimus Primal.
Yeah, because there's something to, like in the case of your kill team there, that's like a manageable amount of tangent, right? If all of a sudden you bought
Space Wolves.
If all of a sudden you bought 2 boxes of Space Wolves, well, now you sort of need a Space Wolf army, because what else are you going to do with them, right?
Exactly.
And that is, in my opinion, an unmanageable tangent.
Exactly.
If you're just like, I'm going to start a Space Wolves army, okay, well, then that's the path you're on now, isn't it?
100%.
Right. And that's okay, too.
Yeah.
Because I've got a Nighthawk army, which is still not done. But, of course, that's...
You're going to use them.
Yeah, it's that becomes like 2 parallel streets, because there's 2 different games. But, I've got an Aldari kill team.
Yeah.
I've got an Astra Militarum kill team. Because those are manageable little tangents that you can go on. Like buying your color of choice little hatchback Transformer that was never in the show.
Yeah.
I feel like I've stuck the landing.
You did.
Right there.
Yeah.
We're going to be back with you next Friday.
We're going to be talking about...
I have no idea.
Lore, baby.
Oh, it's a lore pod.
Yes, and we are going to either be talking to you about one of 2 things. And it's either going to be the grim darkness that affects our 40K universe in the form of a hive city, or it is going to be orcs, seeing as it is Orktober and Warhammer Day is coming up.
It is Orktober. I want to learn about the orcs because I don't really know anything about them besides that they are silly.
They are quite silly.
And silly is good.
Silly is always good, especially in 40K. So if you get a chance, go check us out. We're on the YouTube. We're on the X. I'm sorry, everyone. The X. We're on the X. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook.
I feel so tingly.
Check us out on Apple Music, Amazon, everything, iTunes. What's that one you use? Apple. probably.
Spotify?
We're on Spotify. Check us out there. Check out our lore videos, and we post the pods also on our YouTube channel as well, so give them a shout.
You've really gotten caught up in the air in this outro.
Dude, I'm telling you, the next YouTube lore video will be the Night Haunter, in which Shane is taking the reins of the thumbnail. So go check that out when that drops later this week. You guys have a good one, and we'll see you out there in the grim darkness, baby.
See ya.